How's Deontay doing?
He's good. He's good. He's up in his room. I took him up into his room. He's seen the doctor afterwards. Everything is cool with him. Got a busted lip. He broke his hand, broke his finger, his knuckle or something like that is broke. But life goes on. Fury, I'm assuming, is going to probably get the Usyk shot now, which would be good.
What's good, family? Smash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. Wow. So we just heard there from your mans, Malik Queen Scott. Now, for you man who don't know, Malik Queen Scott is obviously Deontay Wilder's head trainer, and he said there that Deontay Wilder has broken his hand. Now, the commentators before the fight, or during the fight rather, were saying, oh look, Wilder, he keeps touching his right hand. I think he's broken it. But I want to shut down that rumour right now. Because what Wilder was doing, yes, Wilder kept touching his right hand with his left hand, but that was because he was trying to push his knuckle into the end of the glove. Yeah? Every time before Wilder, it's almost like a tell, to be fair. If I was training someone to fight Wilder, I'd tell him, listen, Wilder won't throw a right hand until he's pushed his hand back. So every time you see Wilder go to adjust his glove, pop him in the mouth with a jab. Every time. Before Wilder would engage, he'd push his knuckle right into the end of it. It's obviously a bad habit he's got into. It's a bit like the habit Wilder's got of, after every time the referee disengages the fighters, Wilder would leap in with a big 1-2. That's another tell. If I was Fury or training Fury, we'd have trained to kind of step off and pull some Lomachenko thing. Step off and pivot and pop him. And to be fair, Fury did do that. One of the knockdowns, Wilder leaped in and Fury ended up pivoting and popping him on the side of the head. Knocked him straight down. That move there was there all night. Wilder was jumping in all night. Yeah, quick pivot and pop. Obviously it's easier said than done, but anyway, the point is, people, yes, Wilder was touching his right hand all night, but he does it anyway. Because he wants to put his knuckle into the end of the glove. And in fact, me explaining that to you, in a way, debunks this whole narrative that, oh, he broke his hand. Because, guess what? Why was he trying to load his knuckles into his right hand all night if his hand was broken? That makes sense. However, I do remember hearing in the corner, Malik Scott was encouraging Wilder, saying to him, Deontay, we've got to throw it anyway. So actually, maybe I'm being unfair here. Maybe it was broken, because Malik Scott was saying, Wilder, I don't care if there's something wrong. You've got to throw it anyway. You got to just keep throwing it. And he was saying, you know what I mean, giving him kind of encouraging words like, oh, this is the one night of your life kind of thing, all that kind of inspiring things, all them general leading your troops into battle words. So I do respect Malik Scott for doing that. Now, to be fair to Malik Scott, when Malik Scott dropped this news, when Malik Scott leaked this news about the broken hand, I give him some credit to an extent. Well, you know what, let's start with the negative side. Why am I knocking Malik Scott for mentioning this? Well, bear in mind all the controversy of the first fight. Did it really needed to be said right now? Did it? I don't believe so. I believe Wilder and his team should go away 6 months from now, when it's all cooled down, when Fury's bathed in his victory. If you want to leak the pictures of Wilder's x-rayed broken hand, so be it. Why? I think that may even be a smart business move to build the narrative for the next fight. Oh, look, my arm was broken. I couldn't even throw it. Just think of the things I'll do to you next time, now that my hand's okay. Yeah? But let's get some distance between what happened tonight and that kind of news. That's how I would have played it. If at all, to be honest. But you know what I'm saying? That's how it should have been done. Knowing from the first fight all the excuses. Especially, don't forget, when Malik Scott gave this interview, 12 hours, or more than 12 hours, had already passed from the fight. Meaning that Malik Scott must have been able to, or should have been able to, get a feeling of how to read the room. In as much as everyone was giving Wilder credit. His haters, everyone was giving Wilder credit for the heart he showed. So, why drop this, oh, his hand was broke, why drop that in there? Now again, that's the negative side of things. However, the positive side is, I didn't actually get the feeling after, for example, in my post-fight interview, yeah, or in my post-fight reaction video, I was saying, listen, Wilder ran off from the post-fight interview. We haven't heard nothing from him. This is going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to go down the conspiracy route, or he's going to end up, or he's going to be silent, or he's going to end up chalking it, giving Fury his ratings. Now, we did get a slight look into Wilder's mind, because Michael Benson came out and said Wilder's basically said, yeah, Fury was the better man. I'm not sure what happened. I got roughed up. So that implies Wilder was starting to see some reasoning. So Wilder was getting ratings, if that makes sense. And I was hopeful at that point. Oh yeah, Wilder and his team, they read the room. Yes, they left, and that was probably wrong. But now that Wilder's put this statement out, he's reading the room. He's catching the vibe. He knows not to gas up about no injury or nothing, or not to gas up no narrative, no fake conspiracy narrative. And then obviously, 2-2's your man Malik Scott comes along and drops the whole, his hand was broke. But like I was saying, to be fair to Malik, I didn't get the feeling. Bear in mind, the YB's PhD in verbal analytics. Yeah, I didn't get the feeling. I didn't. Yeah, the way he said it, it didn't sound like he was jumping on. Oh, but we was going to win until he broke the hand. It didn't sound like one of them ones, did it? He just kind of said, yeah, went to the hospital, and I think he may have broke his finger or broke his hand, and then he moved on. He didn't say, well, he was winning the fight up until, for example, we've seen people like Billy Ho Saunders get completely schooled by Canelo Alvarez. And after the fight, they're saying things like, yeah, up until the eye, it was 50-50, and some people had me up 2 rounds, and it was the eye that did it. One of them ones. Basically, throughout the history of the sport, but Billy Ho Saunders recently, people have kind of used injuries as the linchpin for their loss. It was the injury. I was winning. When you clearly weren't winning. When you were schooled. Yeah? Alvarez was playing with his food. With you. Or playing with his cheeks, should I say. Yeah, no doubt. They was his cheeks. Yeah? Billy, your cheeks are Alvarez's cheeks. He was playing with them. Yeah? He was fixing to poke your cheeks at will. Yeah? No doubt. So, we've seen all that. It's not a good look. Look at Billy. Billy had to go into hiding for 6 months. Still ain't seen him much. So, the fact that Wilder dropped it here, not ideal. I'm going to call a spade here. Not ideal. Didn't need to be said. I don't believe. Yeah, don't get me wrong. If you want to sit there and tell some of your chum fans, or like 78 Sports TV, Wilder may have wanted to text him, yeah, don't tell no one, but my hand was broke. And I'm just hoping, so far so good to be fair, so far so good. I haven't heard any narrative from the Wilder fangirls about, it was his hand and he can do this, he can do that. Most of them, 99% of them, I think Aki TV, he gassed. He big mad. Yeah? Oh man, well he cheated again, you know? Listen, there's no cheating going on. Your man Wilder got whooped. Simple as that. Now, like I said, Malik Scott shouldn't have dropped this news in there at all. Keep it to yourself. Don't no one need to hear it. Because at the end of the day, especially, you've got to bear in mind, people, there's 2 types of injuries. Yeah? There's, if your hands break, whose fault's that? Yeah? If you've got soft bones, it's a bit like when Wilder got his head dented. Whose fault's that? I already told you, man. Wilder needs to, never mind sacking Mark Breland, Wilder needs to sack his nutritionist. Why? His bones are soft. Yeah? You've got soft cranium. Got cracked. And you've got soft hands. They cracked. Who thought so? You can't even say, his hand broke. Well, and the thing is, what gets me even worse is the fact that Wilder spent so much time and energy focusing on Fury. Potentially, it's actually caused him a detriment. What do I mean by this? Well, for you man who are hardcores or follow the sport closely, you'll know that 24 hours before the fight started, yeah, Wilder kicked up a big fuss about the fact that Fury was wearing horsehair Pathan sport gloves. Now, I'll be honest, horsehair gloves, yeah, if you have a pair of 10-ounce horsehair gloves, they're more like 8-ounce gloves. So they are puncher's gloves, 100%. If you look at the Everlast MX gloves and or the Pathan sport gloves, the horsehair ones, they literally, a 10-ounce horsehair glove is probably a 7 or 8-ounce normal glove. That's how it works. So yeah, you do get a punching advantage. Fury has been known as someone who doesn't have really bone problems like that. Wilder has always had hand problems. And Wilder himself said, yeah, the reason I don't wear or stopped wearing horsehair gloves was because I kept breaking my hand. He said that. But then, because he got so caught up in what Fury was doing, yeah, when he found out Fury was wearing horsehair, he decided to change his gloves. And even upon changing his gloves to the horsehair ones, where you have less protection, Wilder himself said, it's on tape, Wilder said, yeah, Fury's wearing horsehair, I'm going to wear horsehair, but the reason I haven't been wearing it for a few years is because I kept breaking my hand, I kept breaking bones. So it's like, you were so focused on what Fury was doing, you were so bothered about him trying not to give him an edge, you ended up losing your... Listen, the thing is, well, not only did you lose your best weapon, it's your only weapon. You and your team should have been thinking, you know what, people, yes, Fury's doing that, yes, Fury may have a slight edge there, but you know what, we need to protect our number one and only weapon. So what's the point having an 8 ounce... What's the point having an 8 ounce horsehair glove on if we can't use it? Do you understand? Bear in mind, Wilder for the last few fights, his hands have been alright. Stick with the Everlast power locks. You know, well, you're not certain, but you're confident. You know what? I can throw this all night. At least my hand won't break in these gloves. It's no good how you can have. Listen, you can have the smallest gloves you want. If your hand's broke, what good's that? So again, the fact Wilder, was all caught up in what Fury was doing. He ended up potentially losing the fight even worse because he couldn't throw his right hand. Whereas if he'd have just followed his own game plan, yep, Fury's doing what he's doing, we're doing what we're doing, who knows what may have happened. Now, do I believe, am I going to sit here and tell you, oh, it would have changed the fight? No, I'm not. But I'm saying, from his team point of view, they need to seriously look at themselves and say, listen, if we have a fight next time, just go with what's safe for us. I mean, if you want to look at someone who's almost a master of this, look at Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather knew he had bad hands. So Floyd Mayweather never did any of that. He always had the big bubbly gloves on. He had the big Grant gloves on. And even then, to be fair, people say they're quite... Well, they're not puncher's gloves, and that's my point. Grant gloves, they're like winning gloves. They're soft, yeah? Floyd always had the big fat wraps on, because some fighters, like Mike Tyson, his hand wraps would be thin. He'd literally barely put any wrapping in. Floyd would have the big, massive, thick hand wraps, and he'd put a nice, thick pair of winning gloves on, yeah, to fight in. I've seen Floyd fight in winning before, or he fights in Grant. Because Floyd knew, my hands can't take it. Yeah, I'd love to wear a puncher's glove, but my hands can't take it. Let me focus on making sure I'm sustainable. Wilder, all over the place. The crazy thing is, Wilder and his team hadn't even been training in the MX gloves. But they were so caught up in what Fury was doing, they completely lost their head. Completely lost all of their composure. They should have said, listen, we've got a plan, stick to the plan. We know we've been sparring in this glove, we know what we're doing. Nope, throw it all out and use a glove Wilder admittedly hasn't used in years. And admittedly has caused him factual handbrakes before. Wow, you can't write this stuff, people. And this is what I tell you when I say these teams are riffraff. When you think about F1 teams, they have it's all structured. Yeah, boxing teams are full of riffraff randomers, aren't they? Me personally, I don't even believe in qualifications. I'm not qualified, but you got to have some sort of religiosity to your teams, some sort of IQ in your teams, some sort of logic. No logic, laughing asses. Just random bums in there. I mean, look at AJ's team, full of bums. Random bums. Look at Wilder's team, full of bums. Random bums. No one in their team are making strategic decisions. None of them are. They're all reactionary. Yeah, 100%. They are all reactionary. Oh, look what Fury's doing. Let's jump on that. What? Have you not got your own plan? What have we been doing in camp for the last 18 months? Right there. We've been doing something for 18 months. And now, 24 hours before the fight, we're going to change it up. Because, wow, you done bad. Wow, you dopey. Wow, your team's low IQ. So yeah, Wilder broke his hand. Do I think he broke his hand? Who knows at this point? Who knows? I mean, the thing is, he could have. Is it a lie? I don't think it's likely it's a lie, because they could have said that last time, couldn't they? We broke it. Bear in mind, people, he used every other excuse, so if they were going to lie about things, they could have just thrown that one in there as well. Oh, my hand was broken. So I do probably think he has broke his hand, but who's that on? In my opinion, when you break your hand, that's on you. And it's simple as that. Because if it's not on you, who is it on? Yeah? If it's not on you, who is it on? So it's not even a factor for me. You went in a fight and you broke your hand. Well, in a way, I think from an analysis point of view, sometimes it's good to think of things as if it was a fight to the end. What would have happened if it was a fight to the end? Well, what would have happened if you broke your hand and it was a fight to the end? You'd have lost even worse. And that's why it's almost final for me. Think of fights as if they are a fight to the end. It's like Billy Ho when he talks about, before my eye. Well, no, if it was a fight to the end, you'd be dead and Alvarez would be here. Yeah? If it was a fight to the end, your hand would have been broke and you'd be out of here. So this whole thing about rematches and rematch clauses, it takes away, and that's why in a way, think about the Roman gladiators. Yeah? They weren't playing no games. Yeah? There weren't no rematch clause and broken hand, and it was, you go in there and you come out or you don't. That's how it should be. Yeah? That's how fighters should be fighting. Go in there and come out. And if you do come out, keep your mouth shut. Because, think about it. All these boxers who come out and make excuses and moan, yeah? Just think. If you was in the same industry 1,000 years ago, Billy, you'd have been being taken out in pieces. Because some next Spartacus Don would chop you up. Yeah? No doubt they'd be frying. Some of these witch dons would be frying you up and eating you on that night. Yeah? Not allowing good flesh to go to waste. 100%. So be grateful that, you know what I mean? You've still got your head. Be grateful you still got your chops on your neck. Yeah? Because like I said, 2,000 years ago, your chops would have been missing. We cut straight off. Your barnet would have been gone. No doubt. And actually, before I go, I want to talk about Wilder and the right hand. Yes, we know Wilder only has a right hand. So if his hand was broken, it would have had an effect on the fight. But what comes more important for me is the fact that, guess what? He didn't have the cardio to throw his right hand. Because we've seen fighters before who have cardio, but they've broke their right hand. What do? Guess what? They throw the jab. Yeah? Wilder didn't noticeably start throwing the jab, which tells me that if Wilder wasn't throwing his jab a lot, or at all, then his cardio was so shot he couldn't even throw a jab, which is the easiest punch to throw. So even if his hand hadn't have been messed up, how many extra right hands do you think he'd have been throwing? Bearing in mind he couldn't throw a jab because he was so exhausted. Exactly. So even if his hand wasn't broke, it wouldn't have made no difference. He wouldn't have had the gas tank to throw it. In a way, it probably saved him, because Wilder spent less time. Think about it. If he was throwing his right hand more, he'd have gassed even quicker. And actually, it would have opened him up to be countered more as well. So in a way, it may have kept the fight going on longer. The fact that all he had to do was focus on being a zombie. Because really, in boxing, when someone's being very negative, because in the last few rounds, Wilder was very negative. He was just surviving. When someone's just surviving, it's actually very hard to stop a man. Not so much at heavyweight, but especially the lower weights. But even at heavyweight, when someone's just there to survive, think about Kevin Johnson. Loads of people struggle to stop him, because he comes and just stands there with his guard up. And he's slippery. And that's what I believe happened here. Wilder actually saved himself got himself more of a whooping, because he wasn't throwing.